Welcome back, Neo family. How are we doing today? We have an absolute banger for you today, so make sure to stay until the end. Hope all is well with you guys. Let's just jump right into Neo stock because you have some very interesting price action to talk about, right? So you have a falling broadening wedge here potentially that you're getting a breakout outside of. We saw the bearish spinning top in which you quite literally just traded sideways and outside of this downsloping resistance. Now, you could say that it's a sloppy line resistance, but you have the tap, so that's an established trend, and then resistance here. So I would say that this is valid. And what I'm looking for on Neo stock is you are quickly coming to a potential RSI crossing on the daily time frame. This RSI band coming down dramatically while price is beginning to shape up. But what are we looking at even more? We're going to get into that. What we are looking at even more on Neo stock, and it gets me excited genuinely, is the inverse head and shoulders pattern here. And we outlined it in our last video, but the more that this thing is played out and traded, the more valid it looks. And whether or not that right shoulder still has to come further down is yet to see. But what gets me genuinely excited, Neo holders, is look at on the 4-hour chart just how tight every single indicator, your 9-day, your 50, and your 200 are all within pennies, guys. And so when I say pennies, I mean your 9 is at $6.89, your 50 is at $6.97, and your 200 is at $69. 69 pretty much flat, almost 61. Or 66.91. Jeez. So what is so bullish about this? Well, what is so bullish, ladies and gentlemen, and what gets me absolutely convicted that you're going to see some kind of crazy short-term momentum if IWM and Neo is able to hold these prices, is you can just see your price is above all three. So what's going to happen is going to be a domino effect in which your 9 crosses the 50, your 9 crosses the 200, right? Your 50 will then cross the 200, and you're going to see this thing happen within days between each other. And typically when you get 1, guys, that is bullish. But when you get 3 within days of each other, I mean, I went back. I tried to do some math, some DD, right? And backtrack this. But the last time you had something similar where all 3, the 9, the 50, and the 200 were that pinched, happened almost every single time between the runs, but they've never been so close. You had it kind of back here where you had all 3 close to each other in early August. You saw a dip into the 200. Your 9 never got the opportunity to cross above it, though. So it's not the exact same. You crossed above your 50, and then you ran, right? You go into the run before that, and I would say this is the most comparable of the 3, aside for the 200 being higher, is your 50 crosses above, your 50 crosses above the 200 as well, and then you see a crazy run. I'm trying to see if there's one more example. I don't think so. Unfortunately. So, like, the position that you are in currently is actually kind of crazy because what propelled you from your macro downtrend, or at least aided in doing so, was the 9 crossing the 50 and then the 9 crossing the 200. So very similar, actually. I'm tripping right now. Very similar is the 9 crossed through both, and you saw an explosion in price action. And it's not the only thing that's contributed to that, but the fact that you have an inverse head and shoulders chart pattern, which is a bullish reversal pattern, right? And you're trading within the right shoulder while you see this extreme tightening of these indicators, that's significantly bullish. And if I wanted to build a case here, which I'm going to for you guys in just 1 second, I would look for technical confluence that would confirm my bias, right? Why is everything so tight? Well, the Bollinger Bands are absolutely constricted, right? We talk about the Bollinger Bands. John Bollinger created them. It really just comes to a point in which this traditional indicator will give you hints, or it'll give you signs based on what the bands are doing. This band created by John Bollinger really tells you a good story of volatile moves within a stock, within a chart, right? And typically these volatile moves happen when the chart's bands are constricting. So think about it as if it were a rubber band, right? At this point, your chart bands were constricting, and then snap, right? The rubber band snaps, and then price does as well. And you see a pretty crazy rally from, what was this, 672 up to 710. You're now tighter than you were before. And you're seeing this bullish move and then consolidation. I think it's only a matter of time before you see this next bullish move outside of the inverse head and shoulders, right? And in order to give you guys further technical confluence or further bias, right, that you may see this move up, I kind of went through and I pinned a lot of significant moves up in Neo stock, and you just see just how tight the 2-hour Bollinger Bands are, or the 1-hour Bollinger Bands were. You see expansion when you move up, and then tightening, bam, right? The next example, where was it? Down here. Expansion, and then tightening, and then expansion. Depressing, tightening, depressing. Expansion, tightening, expansion. You can see just how tight they were here as well. If we get that insane candle, what the heck is that? That is a Neo special right there. Oh, no, that's the line. I'm tripping, y'all. Just tell me I'm tripping. Come on. But yeah, you can see tightening and then candles, right? And this all acts as further confluence to the thesis that we're building, right? Just look how tight that is. That's crazy, man. While all of your indicators are so close to crossing, guys. I mean, so close. So what I believe you're going to have a strong close going into Friday that hopefully, right, you look at the weekly chart. Oh my God, that looks, what am I doing? It's insane. It's almost as insane as Neo's stock chart. Get rid of all these freaking lines. All right. Thank you. I can kind of see the chart now. All right, we're back. So if you see a strong close going into Friday, regardless of the volume, because I know we've been talking about the volume for quite some time now. All this week, we've been talking about the weekly volume yet to make a breakout from this decrease in volume. But what you can do is you can make that last point in which you see one last green volume bar before the breakout. And typically it's the red, right? It's been this was green, but still. I don't think that there's any possible way that you break this downtrend in volume, right? But I do believe you can have a very strong Friday to hopefully get above $7, close above $7, and create this kind of higher close previous to the last week, because that would, just like GME, right, signify a bottom in this relative range, and then look for a reversal, whether it come up to 771 or whether it go all the way and make another higher high on the local chart. So let's talk about the daily. So on the daily, you have a couple different things that I like. I like the fact that this is beginning to curl up. I also like just how low that this daily volume was on these 3 red candlesticks, right? And that is, for me, signaling that this is a inverse head and shoulders, right? You see right shoulder, sloping red volume. Head, explosive reaction in volume. Right shoulder, sloping red volume. And so if that happens, what kind of price targets are we talking? Well, you would take the head to the neckline, stick it on top of the neckline, and theoretically that takes you above 771, which would be an insane weekly close if that was able to happen. I don't know. I don't think that would happen this week, but closing above $7 might give you the breakout that you need to then close next week's weekly candle above 771, which would, for me, trigger the reversal. Like, that is your go time, right? You're in the moment of the move. So that would be insane to see. But like I said, daily MACD curling up looks nice. Inverse head and shoulders looks nice. Volume profile looks nice. We're just looking for that follow through from the broader market to hopefully get out of this fear zone, because you've been in the fear zone for quite some time. It's the best time, in my opinion, that I look for long opportunities. However, not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I just like to chart and draw lines like Bob Ross. What else on Neostock, y'all? What else? I had something. Yeah, that's what it was. You close below the 9-day EMA. So technically bearish. You want to close above, but I'm not surprised you did it on such low volume. It's going to take a little bit more volume on Neostock to get above this 705, 706 range. Because once you get above the 9, well, typically, at least the way it's been, you see bounces, rejection, bounces, rejection. But eventually, once you get above it, that creates a what's that called? The bull ride, right? You're riding the bull. Bomb, bam, rejection. And then you fell off the bull, right? So you're looking to get back above the bull. Get about above the bull, 9-day EMA. That signals a short-term trend change. And you came very close to doing it. You wicked above and then closed below. So hopefully tomorrow can provide that volume. That's what I'm hoping for. The weekly candle we went over. The monthly candle, I'm very curious because you're coming to a monthly close now, guys, in which you may see this dramatic lower volume. Like just dramatic, half, a third even, right? A third of the volume of these previous 3 white soldiers candle setup. In my opinion, this is setting up very nicely on the macro chart for a greater price discovery. And if it happens, y'all, if it happens the same way it happened before, 1, 2, 3, technically this was your inverse head and shoulders, right? That took you to the profit target. Broke that. 21. If it happens again where you break this and you get the quarterly MACD flipping green, y'all, sky's the limit. Sky's the limit. Because last time you saw that quarterly MACD flip, you were right here. Right here. $70 unless you want to take the full run. And if you take the full run, well, then you get NEO 100. And if anyone was going to do it, y'all, it's going to be you guys, because y'all have the absolute bandwidth, the conviction, the courage to hold like maniacs. I don't know if I can say the same, but I respect that. I respect the courage and conviction from y'all. If you're able to break above 771, we talked about two levels on the stock chart that are going to act as significant resistance. The first one being just so happens to be right along the bottom of your 50-day monthly EMA, which is 968 on this horizontal resistance in which you tapped, bounced, tapped, bounce. Crazy amounts of volume and liquidity traded at this price. So I anticipate us to not just blow right through it. But if you did blow right through this level, you're going all the way to 16 with a non-stop hunger for more, right? It's like hungry hippos, right? You could just see this crazy move. So that's what we're watching for. We're watching for a break and a close above 771 on the weekly time frame. Nothing has changed, guys. We are still bullish on NEO stock. The weekly chart is showing a 50-day EMA sloping up, the 200 sloping down. That will eventually lead to your first weekly golden cross since back here in 2020 of August. And from that golden cross, we ran up how much more? An additional 368%. So depending on where the stock is, when you get that cross, I anticipate you'd be somewhere up here or up here. You're going to freaking fly. And above this 16 area of resistance, which I also don't anticipate you to cross right away, you do have a macro gap fill. I have this triangle here for a reason, right? Because you have a macro gap fill at 27.59. Mark that on your calendars because we will be visiting it, in my opinion. Not financial advice, but we will be visiting it. And what we do at that level is going to be so key to the macro look of this stock, because you could totally see one of these. Right? Maybe stay range bound. Who knows? Nobody knows. God knows. But how you react to $27 is going to be so freaking key. So it's a level to watch. 771, 960 to 950, 16 and 27. Those are all the levels you're looking to mark before the all-time high at 67 or 66.99. So that is the TA long-term on NEO stock. We're looking for a weekly golden cross. Volume drying up, but the short term looks freaking amazing. So I could not be more excited about the interim move, whatever's going to happen, right? If I was going to buy calls, I don't play options like that, but if I was, I mean, look at that juiciness. Look at it. Just look at it, right? Craziness. So that is my NEO update for the day. Short and sweet, at least, I think. Not 20 minutes. God bless to each and every single one of your families. Thank you for tuning in again. We're going to be posting this twice a day, every day. So make sure to hit the notification bell. That way you guys get notified every time I post. God bless to each and every single one of you. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace. Woo!